shoved a tube into somebody's ass, which is super annoying. Just let me in to find childhood porn, which is great because it's not a f***ing pet. Hi guys, Alex here. Today is that day of the week your pickles are about to get tickled. The lineup for this week's news is electric trucks are getting better, driverless taxis are getting so close that you can ride in one right this minute. Apple shows that they listen to the customers and the people around them, which is super cool, and Cougars in New York. Perhaps not too surprising for the USA folks. We also have news from scientists that discovered the way that you can soon breathe through your butt. I kid you not, it's legitimate scientific research. So without further ado, let's tickle those pickles and get to the news. Next up is Cougars in New York apartments. So some guy in New York decided that it would be a good idea to buy a little cub cougar. Cougar, for those of you who don't know, is not an older woman hunting a younger person, but it is an animal who is basically a puma, and it is a big dangerous cat that will kill you because it's not a f***ing pet. The animal, which is 11 months old at the time of filming this, it grown up and started to show signs of aggression because as cubs, the big cats, should we call them, they're kind of friendly and fun and cute and so on, but as they grow up, 11 months, a year, they tend to show that basically they're an animal and they will f***ing kill you. So don't be a f***ing idiot and don't buy yourself a bloody cougar or a tiger. I only wish that the guy was killed by the cat because that would probably give a better lesson to people not to buy dangerous animals and not to keep them in the fucking apartment in New York. That is not a place for a cougar. Ha! Or is it? Anyway, the Cougars, just so you know, they can be 90 centimeters tall, and not when they're on their twos, on their fours. 90 centimeters tall is a lot, and they can weigh 100 kilos, and that motherfucker can run 80 kilometers an hour. That's 50 miles an hour. A fucking cat, 50 miles an hour. You have no chance. So the good news is that the environmental agency, the owner called the environmental agency, and he's like, I've got a cougar, and I realized it's a stupid decision, so I want to give it back. So the environmental agency came, they took the cat and they gave it to the zoo somewhere, and the cat is now enjoying the life that it more or less, can tolerate, where it has some space to run around, eat meat, and kind of enjoy its life. It's my life, and it's now or never. Obviously, it's not freedom, but it's the next best thing after a New York apartment, pretty much. So happy ending in the end. And yeah, the lesson is not to buy a bloody massive cat into your New York apartment. To the next news. The first news is about electric trucks. DPD recently put a world record in place somewhere in Switzerland where they took their electric truck. I don't know if it was empty or full, but most likely empty. They put it on a truck and it went around for 683 miles on a single charge. So one truck, one charge, 683 miles. The average speed was about 30 miles per hour. I deducted it myself, 683 over 23 hours that it took it, thus gives us miles per hour, around 30. So electric vehicles are here to stay. Obviously, they're only getting better, which is super exciting. And yeah, more efficient and greener deliveries for us. Yay! To the next news. Next news is about the like button underneath this video. Why don't you just poke it once and make it nice and blue? Thank you very much. And if you hit the subscribe button, that'll be super awesome. Thank you very much if you did. And to the next news. Next up is Apple, who is backing down from their initial plan to start scanning your images pretty much without your consent to find childhood porn, which is great that they decided to postpone it because everyone lost their shit. People, the privacy groups, and everyone said that their technology is nowhere near ready to be used. And Apple's like, yeah, you're probably right. So we'll figure out and relaunch it at some point in the future. And I quote, they say they need to take additional time them over the coming months to make improvements, which is good. At least it's postponed for some time, and it shows that Apple actually listens to other people's opinion that probably know better, like cybersecurity experts and their consumers, which is very important, and they make their decision based on the customer needs, which is great. So we will see what happens next and how it will play out. But so far, yeah, your privacy is a little bit safer without this technology. To the next news. Next up is digital IDs from Apple, which is super exciting. So that's the idea I had in my mind for a long time, why we don't have just a bloody picture of your passport or your driving license on your phone, instead of having to carry that with you everywhere, which is super annoying. And Apple thought about this and it's like, yeah, why don't we add it to our Apple Wallet? And so they did. So now about 8 states accept the driving license and ID that's in Apple Wallet as an actual real ID. So you don't need to carry anything with you. In fact, several airports in domestic flights around US also allow you to use just the ID on your Apple Wallet to travel between states, which is super cool. So we're slowly getting to the idea where you don't need to have that paper bullshit passport or your plastic ID card or driving license. You could just have basically a picture on your phone where authorities can scan it and know who you are, which is super cool and convenient. But in the same time, you're kind of moving to the idea where you have a microchip and you just scan it and everyone knows who you are. But we're kind of there anyway. So with it or without it, we're already there. So might as well give in and enjoy the a little bit more freedom, so to speak, to travel without documents in USA. Hopefully more states will follow. There's 50 of them, 8 down, another 42 to go. Hopefully they will come on board, and then other countries as well. And then international travel will be very nice and easy. You don't need a fucking visa or any other bullshit, and you can just travel to different countries, which will be super cool. So thank you very much, Apple, for doing that for us and gathering more data about us, like you don't have enough. Anyway, to the next news. The next news is about driverless taxis. The company called Motional, Emotional, of course, which is a joint venture between Hyundai and Aptiv, which not many of us know. Anyway, they developed a basically driving-less car, a car that could drive by itself and developed specifically for taxi purposes. The car itself is in partnership with Lyft, and if you remember, Lyft had their own driving division, but they sold it off to a subsidiary of Toyota for about $500 million, which is a lot of money. So they sold it off, so they don't have anything. And this company, Motional, actually developed a car which looks super cool and super futuristic. You can actually see it's a driverless car because of that thing at the top. It will have 30 different sensors and stuff all around it, so it can be safe and fun to drive on its own. And the exciting part is that they're planning to start the first rides on the driverless car in 2023. That's only a year and a bit from now, because it's almost 2022. So we're getting closer to the point where driverless cars and driverless taxis are taking over. And thank God we're not going to have the shitty Uber and Bolt and other dickhead drivers who are not letting you into their car with a dog, which is frustrating. For fuck's sake, it's a bloody little French bulldog. Just let me in. Jesus! Let me in! Let me in! Anyway, so I'm glad that's happening, and hopefully all the drivers will be removed and we will have just driverless taxis all over the place that will not have a limitation on traveling with pets, because it's about fucking time. So yeah, exciting news. To the next. Next news is also about self-driving cars, taxis to be precise. We have Waymo, which is a subsidiary of Google Alphabet company, which is super exciting. And their self-driving car is actually already taking passengers in San Francisco. You can sign up for the testing programs and you would be called a trusted tester. That's what you would be called. And you get into the self-driving car, literally, and it will drive you to your destination. At the moment, due to regulations, the company can't allow the car to be completely self-driven. So there will be a pilot in there who's just sitting there, not touching the wheels, not touching the pedal, just to make sure nothing goes wrong. And people that are taking the rides will take them for completely free, which is super exciting. And this way Waymo, Google will collect more data about the car and how it drives and will make it better. So hopefully even sooner than Motional, then they will be on the roads. And again, we will be able to travel with our loved pets without people telling us,
You can't have a dog in my car, it's gonna smell, do you have a permit?
Anyway, enough of ranting. It's super exciting news for self-driving cars, because the more self-driving cars we have, the less accidents will be on the roads, because people like me, who are idiots on the road, they wouldn't be driving as much, and it will be safer for everyone on the road, which is about time. So exciting news, and to the next one. Last but not the least is the news about butt breathing. I kid you not, actual research has been done into this. Because of the whole situation that's going on in the world at the moment, there is difficulties with certain types of equipment that allow people to breathe. So scientists decided to find a new way, and they did. So they took a solution of sorts, shoved a tube into somebody's ass, and turned out that somebody can breathe. Obviously they did it on mice and pigs and some other animals first, and the way they did it, basically they put mice in a chamber, they limit the oxygen supply by like 90%, and they see how quickly mice die. So let's call it a minute, right? I don't know, I'm just saying, let's call it a minute, right? And then they did the experiment with the tubes up their butts in the same way, and they wanted to see how long they will survive for. And it's shown that animals survive about 5 times longer with this oxygen intake, which is not 1 minute now, but 5 minutes, which is super cool. What this shows is that there is actually absorption of oxygen through the butt, and it is a positive news. Why it's a positive news is because if you have a tube in your throat, it's a very, very unpleasant and uncomfortable experience. Anyone who has done it will tell you that they do not want to go through that again. However, having a tube up your butt, on the other hand, could be a pleasant experience. You know, people are into different things, so don't judge them. Don't you dare. And yeah, that is exciting that it is a possibility that you can now breathe through your butt. It hasn't been tested on people yet, but I hope in the next year or two it will happen. And it will be super exciting that you will have an option when you go to hospitals, like, would you like your oxygen through your mouth or through your butt? And people will be like, the butt. Anyway, exciting news, exciting stories. A link in the description below if you want to find out more. And yeah, that has been it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your comment down below, or don't. It's a free world. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, check me out on my TikTok. I'm joking, but I do have TikTok, so you can look it up. And I'll see you in the next one.
Gotta make them right, chillin' with mine. We triple up, they on a double up, triple dub. Came from the basement, we only going up. They loving us. Up in the booth, I'm getting dizzy, but they the cup is up. Toast to my people that's on the come up, and you live with us.